This is PSN Newsrun, streaming exclusively on YouTube.
We begin with news from the presidency. Big tax shakeup from Aso Rock. President Tinubu is set to rewrite how Nigeria collects taxes. 4 bills, 1 system, big impact. Joycelyn has all the juicy details.
Big news coming out of Aso Rock. President Bola Tinubu is about to change how taxes work in Nigeria big time. 4 new bills, 1 major reform, and trust us, these laws are going to affect you, your business, and even how you shop. At the heart of the reforms is the introduction of a single Nigeria tax code. This unified law will replace the current patchwork of tax status like personal income tax, VAT, and stamp duty with one simplified legal framework. For both individuals and businesses, this means fewer surprises, better clarity, and easier compliance. Alongside this is a new tax administration bill, which will unify how taxes are collected at the federal, state, and local levels. The goal: to eliminate overlapping tax demands and ensure that every government arm follows the same rulebook. Another major shift is institutional. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, will be rebranded as the Nigeria Revenue Service, NRS. The new agency promises a tech-forward approach to tax collection, featuring e-filing, automated 48-hour refunds, and real-time tax clearance certificates. To ensure fairness, a joint revenue board will be established, along with a tax tribunal and ombudsman to handle disputes. If taxpayers feel wrongly treated, there will now be a proper channel to seek redress quickly and transparently. What does this mean for you? Minimum wage earners will be exempt from paying income tax. Small businesses will enjoy easier compliance processes and digital filing tools. States are expected to receive a more equitable share of VAT revenue. Oil and gas companies will now face a flat 30% corporate tax rate. If well implemented, these reforms could make Nigeria's tax system smarter, simpler, and fairer. But the real test will lie in execution. As the bills await presidential assent, all eyes are on Aso Rock and on how these changes will reshape Nigeria's fiscal landscape. Joycelyn Ella Keche, Ada, PS News.
Vice President Kashim Shettima took center stage at the opening of Afrebank's 32nd annual meeting in Abuja with a call for Africa to move from survival to bold economic transformation. Let's join Joycelyn for the full report.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, represented by Dr. Tokwe Faswa, has urged leaders to move beyond maintaining resilience and instead engineer renewal. Mobilizing blended finance, attracting private capital to infrastructure and green energy, strengthening value chains via AFCFTA, and scaling digital trade platforms like PAPS. He stressed that this transformation must be inclusive, particularly benefiting youths, SMEs, and women entrepreneurs.
The past 3 decades have taught us that resilience is not just survival. It is the capacity to adapt, to lead, and to reinvent. Afreximbank has embodied this ethos. In times of global liquidity crunch, it provided emerging trade financing. In the aftermath of COVID-19, it rolled out the Pandemic Trade Impact Mitigation Facility, PATIMFA. Today, it is shaping continental policy through PAPS, the African Trade Gateway, Afreximbank, and its new concessional finance window.
Echoing this approach, CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso praised Afreximbank's engineered resilience, anticipating crisis, building buffers, diversifying risk, and emphasized the importance of transparent governance and consistent stakeholder communication for long-term institutional strength.
Afrexim has emerged as more than an average financial institution. It has become a trusted partner, a convener of ambition, and a catalyst for change, shaping strategy, enabling execution, and elevating African agency across the globe.
Vice President Shettima's address reframed Afreximbank's role from a financier of survival to a catalyst for Africa's renewal, highlighting digital platforms, institutional strengthening, and inclusivity as the keys. With PAPS as a core enabler and Nigeria's robust domestic reforms, Abuja's message was clear. Africa is not just bouncing back, it is reinventing itself. Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada, PS News.
Nigeria is making a bold pitch for energy leadership in Africa, with Power Minister Adebayo Adelabu pushing for policy-driven investment and sustainable reforms at the 2025 Africa Energy Forum. Let's hear Marianne on this report.
At the 2025 African Energy Forum in Cape Town, Nigeria's Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, stressed that a successful energy transition depends on clear, structured policy. While committed to clean energy, he noted that Nigeria's gas and hydrocarbon reserve remains vital for energy and economic stability. Adelabu outlined Nigerian strategy to align policy regulation and financing, anchored by the National Integration Electricity Policy, to attract investment and fast-track energy infrastructures. Key focus areas include grid modernization, renewable integration, and decentralized energy solutions like mini-grids and solar systems. He declared Nigeria is open for business across entire energy spectrum. On the sidelines, Adelabu had strategic talks with officials from South Africa, the United Kingdom, Canada, Siemens Energy, and the International Finance Corporation, all centered on grid reforms, trade, and clean energy partnership. His engagement reinforced Nigeria's role as a continental leader in driving sustainable, inclusive energy transformation. Marianne Awia, PS News.
A wave of anger is sweeping through Kenya as youth-led protests over tax hikes explode into a wider rebellion against economic injustice and political disillusionment. Here's Joycelyn with details.
Across Kenya, streets have erupted in fury. What began as opposition to proposed tax hikes under President William Ruto's finance bill has now morphed into a national outcry against economic hardship, government excess, widening inequality. At the heart of these protests is a generational demand. Young Kenyans, many of them unemployed and disillusioned, are challenging a political class they see as detached and unaccountable. The irony? Ruto rode to power on a Hustler Nation platform promising economic inclusion. But Kenya is not alone. From Sudan to Nigeria, from Congo to Zimbabwe, citizens across Africa are expressing growing frustration with leadership that prioritizes power retention over people's welfare. Corruption, unemployment, inflation, and crackdowns on dissent have eroded trust in government institutions. These protests raise deep questions about the future of democracy in Africa. Is it delivering, or is it being hollowed out by allied capture and weak accountability? Yet, in the face of repression, civic voices are growing louder. Africa's youth, the continent's largest demographic, are demanding a reset, not just elections, but genuine representation and economic justice. If government fails to listen, the anger in Kenya may well become a blueprint for future uprising across the continent. Joycelyn Ella Keche Ada, PS News.
And moving on to sports news, Teresa Phillips with all the latest stories from the sports desk.
Fulham winger Alex Iwobi, nephew of Nigerian legend JJ Okocha, is setting his sights on lifting the Africa Cup of Nations trophy in Morocco next year. Iwobi, 29, draws inspiration from his uncle's 1994 triumph and remains committed both to football and charitable causes like Project 17. Meanwhile, goalkeeper Daniel Nwabali remains optimistic about Nigeria's chances of qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, reinforcing the Super Eagles' consistent push through upcoming qualifiers. And on basketball, the Nigeria Basketball Federation (NBBF) has unveiled the preliminary roster for the women's national team, the Tigers, ahead of the 2025 FIBA Women's AfroBasket in Abuja. Final selections are underway as preparations intensify. Reporting from the sports desk, Tazza Phillips.
You just watched PSN Newsrun, streaming exclusively on YouTube. This is your trusted voice for news that matters. Subscribe, like, share, and stay informed.